Okay, welcome to what we're going to use tonight for a demonstration is the studio that I think we're going to try and use for a television program we're going to create. We hope to air it through Accesssacramento on the cable access. We're going to use our family room here temporarily as our set. We have some lights and we have some equipment, and what we want to show you is that it's possible to use not really lower level equipment, but equipment that's maybe on the lower end of the prosumer scale that anyone could reasonably afford to buy and use to produce a television show. Hopefully the show won't be too silly looking, but we'll try and be as professional as we can, and we'll use the equipment we have, and we're not going to go way over budget or anything like that. So we're seeing the camera. We'll show you the kind of cameras we're using in a second, but let's start with the lights, because let's face it, if it's all dark, you're not going to see anything. So my assistant Tracy here is showing us what the lights are. There's basically just a softbox here. There's inside is the four lights, the fluorescent lights. They're 120 watts, but they actually use the power of 45 watts, and they're inside a softbox shell, if you could call it that. It's on a tripod, so it's reasonably steady. We've got two of these, and we've also got a overhead boom type attachment for a third tripod. We could set it up as 3 tripods, or we could set up the third one as a boom for an overhead light. We do have a softbox cover that comes down, and we'll hook that into place, and basically what that does, it just kind of gives you a little bit better view. And what we're going to do is we'll flip the switches on, and you can actually adjust them by there's 4 lights in there. One switch on the back covers one side, and one switch on the back covers the other side. So we'll turn that on, and you can see it's not a harsh light. It's not a real hot light or anything like that. We've had these on for most of the afternoon as we're doing some setup here, and it's really not a harsh light at all. There's very little heat to it at all. So that's going to be our lighting, and I think you'll see when we actually sit down in a set that it'll actually work pretty well as far as the lighting. So the lighting's taken care of. Now we need to worry about the sound. So right now, this is the soundboard that we're going to be using. It's made by Xenix. It's a 1002B professional battery-powered mixer. You can go up to 8 inputs, different lines and mic inputs. We're going to use several lavalier mics for today, and we found out in our testing that one of our lavalier mics is bad, so we're going to use a handheld mic for part of it. It's not really what we want to do, but we'll figure out what the problem is there. For all I know, it's just a battery that's bad with the mic that we got when we got it. So basically at this point we're going to be just at this moment, while we're filming, we're running straight into the camera. But when we sit down on a set, we'll have the lavaliers plugged in here, and we'll have them for you for the setup. But again, this is a family room setup. It's not really set up for video other than for this. We'll make some changes, and we'll have a little bit more room in the general sense. So if Gary could follow me around here, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the cameras here, and we'll kind of turn in. I know it's kind of tough on Gary to follow me and with our security guard here in the setup, but basically I'll move this out here so we can see it a little bit better. We're using just basic SD cameras. They use a SD card. These cameras were about $200. They were a little bit less depending on when I bought them and where I bought them. The camera we're using right now to film with is a Canon FS200. It has a microphone input plug, so we can plug a microphone in there, and we're going to be running out of the mixer board in that with the final product. The camera that you're looking at right now, I have 2 of these, and we're going to be using those, and the Canon that we're using is a 3-camera setup. These cameras don't have a microphone input, so they're going to give us what we like to call a dirty sound. It's not the best sound. The best sound is going to come from the mixer board, and it's going to go into the Canon camera that you're actually we're filming this on. And when we actually finish with the filming of a given program, we'll have the 3 camera sets on the SD cards. We'll put them into our editing program. We're going to use Final Cut Pro 10. And those 2 cameras that have the dirty sound will be synchronized with the Canon that will have the best sound. We'll set markers at each one when we make a noise in the studio before we set. That marker is where everything will start from. and all of the video and all of the sound will synchronize to that marker sound. And when that happens, then all of them will be set in the editing program to where we can just switch between the 2 or 3 inputs, as it may be. And when we can do that, then we can actually create what will look like a really heavy-duty mixer switcher effect for our video. So this is basically it. We're not looking at anything incredibly expensive. I know when I throw a number out there, some people will go, well, that's more than I can spend. It's not something I bought all at once, but with the lights and with the lighting kit, the 3 lights, I actually got a 10 by 20 green screen that I'd like to use down the road with After Effects. Some creative things I'd like to try, but that's a little ways down the road. But that's set up with the green screen and the stand it goes on, the 3 lights, the 2 cameras, the mixing board. I am probably only, I would guess, probably about $600, thereabouts. Maybe a little tiny bit more, but not much. If I'm at $600, it's going to include the tripods, a couple of the lavalier microphones that I got on sale, some of the really miscellaneous things that would, you have to have them, and they all, but the reality is you could start with 1 camera for something like this and create a program. And once you learned editing, and if you already knew editing, it really worked well. So I think that's probably pretty much the equipment involved. Again, we're going to be using Final Cut Pro. We're going to be using it on my iMac. And again, that's something that I have. You could use it on any kind of editing program that you use. You could use Adobe Premiere. You could use Sony Vegas. There's any numbers out there. You could use iMovie. iMovie would be a little more difficult than the multi-camera with Final Cut Pro 10, but I know Final Cut Pro 10, and a couple people that will help me know that too. So I think that's what we're going to probably use. So we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to sit down in the studio and show you what it looks like for our studio shots and how that will look when we actually do some post-production editing into the 3 camera setup. So stick around. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Do you like this top? So gay. Really? Yeah, it's totally gay.
You really shouldn't say that.
Say what?
Well, say that something's gay when you mean it's bad. It's insulting. What if every time something was bad, everybody said, oh, that's so girl wearing a skirt as a top?
Oh, you are.
Those are cute jeans, though. When you say that's so gay, do you realize what you say? Knock it off.
Well, thanks for rejoining us here on the set at Playback Studios. Here in the studio today, I've got Gary Bayless with me, who not only helped set up and is a highly acclaimed student at CRC in the radio, television, film department. Various different projects that he's worked on have been outstanding. So, Gary, as far as the equipment we're using here in our setup here, do you think it's equipment that is a viable group of equipment to use for producing a television show that could be aired on Access?
Oh yes, very much so. The equipment that we used here today, even though a lot of people in the professional world might deem it to be low quality equipment, still serves a great purpose of filming and shooting a acceptable television program. As you can see right now, we have the lights up. We're fully lit. At a total 360 diameter, pretty much. We got the backlighting, we got the fluorescent lights. We really don't have spotlights, but we don't need them because, as you can see, most of our shadow and everything is gone if we turn and so forth. And
Right.
It's perfectly fine. The cameras, the cameras are just as well as any other professional camera, professional grade camera that you have out there. They record, they catch sound. Your audio mixer that you have is catching the sound right now that we're using with the lavalier mics that we have. And by this production, it looks like that we're going to have a decent show just right now, testing out all of this stuff. It may not be quite your NBC or ABC stuff, of course, but it can still be aired. It is very decent, especially what you see on television today locally. I work at Accesssacramento, and this is kind of the stuff that they're using, that they're dealing with.
Right.
They have a little more professional camera grade, but still kind of the same outcome. So I think you can definitely this will work.
Yeah.
This is more than acceptable.
And some of the technical people that I've talked to there told me not to worry about it in the sense of having an HD camera or HD cameras for it, because Access doesn't broadcast in HD yet anyway. So the cameras that I have, consumer level that they are, SD versions are fine for what we're going to use.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
The HD, it's not. Again, professional studios, it's kind of like a fad. They're going to HD, but not everybody is HD just yet, and they're still selling and building cameras that are not HD quality.
Right.
So if they're still building them, it's kind of like it's kind of like building cassette tapes. Nobody does that anymore because now we're in the age of using CDs,
Right.
and we're going above that. But we're still building cameras and everything that don't shoot HD. So
Yeah.
it's a slow trend going up the ladder.
From what we've done in our setup here and what you've seen, are there any potential problems you think that might have to be addressed down the road?
Potential problems. Well, as we were working with the equipment today, we were trying to figure out what was going on specifically with audio. You may have a little more trouble with audio distortion than you would with a professional, one of those like $6,000-$7,000 mixers and stuff like that.
Sure.
But there's ways of working around that, as we discovered. There's editing programs that you can use that help you additionally with audio. And I believe that is something that is, it's low budget, but it's still very acceptable. It works. You can still get the same level of audio even using a low mixer with editing software on top of it. I'm speaking specifically about Final Cut Pro 10, but I'm pretty sure Adobe Premiere does the same exact thing. So potentially, I don't know, I see upsides with this. This stuff is portable. You can take it anywhere, which a lot of studio camera equipment, like the big studio cameras with the tripods, you can't take those. You have to have like a 4-man crew to move one of those cameras.
Sure, and a house price to buy the truck to use it.
Exactly, and a big truck nonetheless. Downsides. Tricky question.
Yeah.
I don't foresee any downsides right now. Maybe the picture quality, like you said, is an HD, but then again, you can still work with that.
Sure.
So downsides as far as disadvantages, not too many.
Okay.
Not too many.
Anything you do differently in terms of either the setup or anything?
No, I don't believe so. Something that fascinated me was the lighting kit that you got. And perhaps you could describe that a little bit further, because the lighting kit seems like that of photography lighting, like professional photography lighting, and not so much television lighting, but yet we're still utilizing these stands, the power. It seems to work quite well, even for television.
Yeah. Well, it was basically a 3-light kit. There's 2 stands that have a direct softbox, and the third light has the capability of being a straight softbox, but it also has the capability of being a boom type light, where it could be like, we've got it set up to where it's kind of over us, but it's also taking a little bit of the shadow away from behind us too. The light head itself has 4 fluorescent type bulbs, the kind that we use, because we're trying to save energy, the curly Q type bulbs. They have a lot of wattage to them, but they don't have a whole lot of power. And as we talked about in the first segment, there's next to no heat to it in that sense. When we first shot, we had them on for hours, and the room was not appreciably warmer. Whereas in the size studio we're in here at Laid Back Studios, if we had the big high dollar studios lights, then we would have been sweating in tank tops, and that would have been kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So it's great. The kit that I got also has a 10 by 20 green screen that I would like to use at some point for some different creative type things. It's got the stand involved, so I can film myself sitting in front of it in a chair and transpose that chair into video. Or I've tried to build a little set through After Effects where I could maybe film myself and put myself into that set. It's a very simple thing, but it's different. I found I have a monitor here that is kind of a little out of the picture, but I think in one sense, when I first start, what I'll be doing is, whether I have a guest on the studio or whether it's just me, I'll have the monitor, and I've learned now how to take video and make it appear that it's in that monitor, and a couple frames later filling the screen like I'm introducing a news package. And we went somewhere to film something, and this is it, and as I'm talking, it's coming out to fill the screen even though my audio is still there. So it's like, I see some real possibilities. And again, like we've talked about, it's not going to be something that the local NBC, CBS, ABC affiliate's going to go, oh, we need to have that program on our channel lineup. But they might see it and go, well, they can do this with that kind of equipment. What could they do with some good equipment? And, okay, you want to produce a program for us, the same program, but with our equipment.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think probably we could spread some of that money around. Yeah, definitely.
Well, and another thing is that you mentioned something very specific. The equipment that we're using here, if something were to break or need replacement, bulbs, camera, tripod, stuff like that, it's an easy fix because all of this is local material. Now, I know with other camera equipment and so forth, you need to go on specific websites and buy specific products to get shipped to you. You can't go down to the local store, your Fry's, Best Buy, or whatever, and buy your adjustable lens filters or your tripod stands that you need for some of those big, huge cameras that they have. But here we have an advantage because this stuff is replaceable locally, and it's cost efficient, which means you're not going to be out a whole lot of money if you do this. And you have your equipment right there.
Yeah, and we talked about price before. It's not going to break next to nobody's bank.
Yeah, exactly.
To replace it, unless everything goes all at once with the EMP power, surge, in which case we're not going to be broadcasting anyway, so nobody is.
That's
so
true.
We'll be yelling between towns. So
that's true.
Okay, Gary, well, I appreciate being here in the studio and helping with everything. Any other final thoughts?
No, not really. Yeah.
Okay.
That looks fantastic.
That could be a final thought in and of itself. So we've enjoyed having everybody come into the studio and seeing what we're doing. The working title is for the program we're going to be trying to produce is going to be called Natomas Life. It's about the area, what we do in the area, what we do in the community, things going on, things coming up, things that have happened. Natomas Life. It's my life. Hopefully it's your life. Or it's our life. So thanks for being with us. I appreciate Gary being here in the studio with me. Thanks, Gary.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next week.